Hi, welcome. In today's video, I will be demonstrating how to use a Google Jamboard to create an interactive KWL chart. Now, this KWL chart can be used during a 5E instructional model. The E that will be focused on will be engaged. With the 5E instructional model, it assists students to build their own understanding from experiences and new ideas. And there are 5 E's to this model of teaching: engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. The E I will be looking at is engage. Now, let's begin. KWL chart asks your students to answer 3 questions: what I know, what I want to know, and what I have learned. Now on the screen is a sample KWL chart that I have already created. So let's quickly go through, and then I will take you through the steps of creating one on your own. Now let's start with the topic. You will begin the lesson by giving the students their topic. Now the topic can be in the form of a picture, or it can be the regular words. So you give them the topic. Now after you've given them the topic, you begin with the first K of the KWL chart, which is for the students to tell you what they already know. Now on my Google Jamboard, what I did was to set a background. The background here will be stationed, so the students will not be able to shift the background around. Now I have also used notes, sticky notes, to add the name of students. Now this is optional. If you have, say, a small group and you want to give a set of students, for example 3 students, a particular section of the KWL chart, here you could add the name of the students. So you can add Mary, Peter, or John. Now, what you would do prior to this, you would need to show or teach the students how to use the different labels that are within the Jamboard. So you'd have to teach them about the different labels that are on the left. For example, the pen icon, the erase, the sticky note, how to add an image, how to add a circle, or how to include a text box to write your text. Also, you need to tell the students that in giving their responses, they have the option of using sticky notes to create their responses, or they have the option of adding an image as part of their response. Now, the next would be the W in the KWL. And the W will be where the students are going to tell you what they want to know. And again, I have done a sticky note here where for this letter in the KWL chart, I have the option of asking a particular number of students to work on this section of the chart. It is optional. You don't have to include the student's name. You can allow all your students to have input in the Jamboard. But again, if you want to divide the sections of the chart, so you want to give few students the K, another set the W, and you might give another set the L, you would have to prepare beforehand. And once the students have access to the Jamboard, they would see their name on each frame. They would see their name on each frame. So for example, if it's the L, the students would access the Jamboard and they would select the frame that has their name, and they will work on that particular frame. Now for the L in the KWL chart is where the students are going to tell what they have learned. Now after you have gone through your lesson, you can return to the L of the KWL chart. So this section would be done at the end of your lesson. So this is where the students will now tell you what they have learned from the lesson. So this section will be done last. This will be the final section. And again, the students would have the option of responding either by using sticky notes, or they can include image from the web, from Google, or they can insert text box to respond. Now, let's now create our own KWL chart. So you would go into I'm starting in my Google Drive. Click New, and you would select Google Jamboard. Now you can also start your Google Jamboard from within your email. So when you go into your email, you would go to More Apps, and you would select your Google Jamboard. Now the first thing I'm doing here is giving my Jamboard a proper name to make it easier for me to find it once I'm through with it. So I'm going to give this Jamboard the title of my lesson. So if my lesson is about computer hardware, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give my Jamboard a proper name, just for easy reference. Make it easier to find once I'm through. So give it a name. Okay. Now the next thing you'd want to do, you have the option of setting a background. Now there are several options here to set in your background. So you just click to select your background. If, for example, you want to set an image as your background, you would select image, and you would then be given the option of uploading it from your device, your computer, adding a URL from an image from your camera. You also have the option of doing a Google search. You have the option of uploading an image from your Google Drive or from your Google Photos. Now I am going to upload an image that I already have on my computer. So once the image is selected, it automatically forms the background of this particular frame, just this frame that you're working with. If you didn't want to include a, a background in the form of a picture, as I said before, you could easily select one of these backgrounds that are here, that are given to you. So the first thing I have is my topic, and I am using my background as my topic. Now you also have the option of, for your background, you could have inserted a text box. You could have had inserted a text box, and you could have had type the topic. So if your topic is parts of a computer system, you could have given your frame the name of the topic just by typing into a text box. Now, if you're going to use a text box, it would be advised that the picture that you would have as your background does not interfere with the wording that's in the text box, thereby making it difficult for the students to read. Now, because I'm not going to use a text box, I'm going to stick with my background. I am going to simply delete the text box. So I have my background set. The next thing I need to do now is to add another frame. Now on this frame, I have the option of again setting a background, or you could upload an image of your own for your background. So set a background, or what I am going to do is to start with the first letter of my KWL chart. I'm going to start with my K. I'm trying to find the name of my file. So I've found the name of my file, and here I have selected a background in the form of a picture, and as you can see, it is stationed so the students would not be able to move it around. Now if I wanted to group the students, so for example, I want 4 of the students to work on this section of the KWL chart. So this section would be the K, where they are going to tell you what they know. Now the students would have the option again of using the sticky note or images from Google. Now if I wanted to group the students to each section of the KWL, I can let them know which of the frame belong to them by including their name on the frame. Now I have the option of changing the color of the sticky note, for which I am going to use to let them know that this is the frame that they are to work on. And then I would go ahead and I would type their name. So if you address your students by their first name or by their surname, you'll go ahead and write the student's name. So for this frame, I'm going to ask John, Mary, and Andrew to work on this particular frame. So once they access this frame, they will see their name. And we now continue to our next frame. The next frame here would be the W. And again, I am going to select an image that I had already copied, already saved to my device. Now bear in mind though that the KWL, K stands for what the students know. The W is where they're going to tell you what they want to know, and the L would be saved for last for what they have learned. So we have completed the K, which is what the student wants to know, and we're now going to move to the W of the chart, which is what the student wants to know. So on this frame, again, I have the option of sharing each frame for a particular number of students. So if I wanted student Bob, student Jill, and student Mike to work on this particular frame, again, I could use a sticky note, and I can also move the sticky note around. I use a sticky note so that the students can identify which frame they are to work on. Now, this is optional. You can leave the frames open without having the sticky notes with the identified names to allow all the students to work on all the frames. So again, this is optional. So here your students are going to again have the option of writing their answer by using a sticky note. So for example, what they would like to know are the different types of printers. Each student would have the option of adding their own sticky note to the frame. So many sticky notes could be added. Now, if the student wanted to know, for example, different types of input devices, which are also computer hardware, because remember, recall the topic is computer hardware. The students have the option now of if it was an image they wanted to add, they could do a Google search and they could search anything related to the topic. So if it's input devices, they could do a Google search, Google image search for different types of input devices. that they'd like to know more about, and they would simply insert. So if it's a mouse they would like to know more about, they could, or different types of keyboards, they could select any of the image, and it will be inserted onto the frame. And these images can be resized or they can be positioned anywhere on the frame. Now the last letter in the KWL chart would be what have I learned? So on this frame, the students are going to tell you what they have learned. So you would save this frame for the end of the lesson. So let's go ahead and create a frame for what have I learned, where the students are now going to answer. So again, we're going to select an additional frame. I'm going to set a background. And as usual, I have saved my images. And here we go. Now again, you have the option of using one of the predefined background that comes with the Google Jamboard. You don't necessarily have to add your own image. You could select one of the predefined background, right? Now recall also that what you can do is include your text box. So instead of an image, or you can set a text box over any one of the preset backgrounds. So if you had chosen the blue board background, you could add your text, add a text box anywhere on the frame, and again you would type the L in the KWL chart, which would be what have I learned? What have I learned? Right? So there are options. Now here I am going to leave this frame open because I want all my students to respond to this particular frame. I want to know what all the students have learned from the lesson. So I am not going to add a sticky note with the student's name that I would prefer to respond. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it open to allow for as many students as possible to respond. Now let me just add another frame for demonstration purpose. And we are going to select the blue board background. We can go ahead and add our text box. So the text box can be sized, and we would add what have I learned, right? And here, right? So the students would still be able to place their sticky notes, or if you prefer, you could also use a sticky note to ask the students what have they learned. So on your sticky notes, you'd include the question, what have you learned? Right? And again, you have the option of changing the color of the sticky note. So you'd ask your question, you can ask the question in a sticky note. And the sticky note can always be resized. Now, another cool thing that you could do, if you are familiar with Bitmoji, you could also add Bitmoji to your Google Jamboard. But what I will do, I will take you through using Bitmoji in another video. So thanks for watching. This was my KWL chart. Just a simple demonstration. Again, thanks for watching.